Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is lecture number 2 on forensic sexology. In lecture number 1, I discussed pregnancy, its medico-legal issues, and a portion of criminal abortion till methods of inducing. Today, I will take up the remaining portion of criminal abortion, that is its complications causing death, autopsy findings and medico-legal aspects. And second topic will be introduction to sexual offences, in which I will take up steps of examination of a female victim of rape, which will not complete in this lecture and it will continue in the next lecture. Now, the complications of criminal abortion or pregnant woman's death, because these complications once developed, they lead to death of the woman. So these complications are divided into two groups: A, those causing rapid death of pregnant women, and B, causing delayed death. The complications causing rapid death are vagal shock or inhibition, air embolism, and rapid hemorrhage. In these cases, dead woman is found near scene of interference. Now, the delayed complications is mainly one, that is development of septicemia and death of the woman. Coming to the rapid causes of death or rapid complication, the first one is death from vagal shock. It occurs in sensitive pregnant women who is subjected to criminal interference without anesthesia. So when a stimulus, that means the instrument used, touches the neck of uterus, it acts like as one applied to larynx or trachea, so precipitates vagal inhibition and sudden cardiac arrest, causing instant death of pregnant woman. On examination, dead woman shows no external and internal hemorrhage. Number 2 is death from air embolism. This is second complication resulting in rapid death. It results from air pumped into uterine cavity during an intrauterine injection. There is stripping of membrane from uterine wall and detachment of placenta, which exposes large blood vessels, and a negative pressure in veins is developed, which sucks air and fluid into circulation. Air is carried to heart via inferior vena cava and then to pulmonary circulation, leading to rapid death. Third cause of rapid death is death from rapid hemorrhage. This is because of two possibilities. Firstly, hemorrhage is collected in uterine cavity due to rupture of a large blood vessel following detachment of placenta. So there is a large pool of blood in uterine cavity. Secondly, curate. The instrument used may perforate uterus and injure uterine vessels, or it may penetrate to abdomen and cause injury to intestine, which may be pulled out of vagina along with curate. In such cases, large volume of blood is either retained in uterus or abdomen, so there is very little external hemorrhage. So you have seen in first complication, that is air embolism uh, and vagal shock and air embolism, there was no hemorrhage. And in this rapid hemorrhage, there is very little external hemorrhage, but internal hemorrhage is marked. Now these were causes of rapid death, and now coming to delayed death. So there is main cause of delayed death in pregnant women is due to sepsis or other complications such as renal failure. The causative organisms causing sepsis are Clostridium welchi, which causes yellowish brown skin, Streptococcus pyogenes and anaerobic, E. coli and Staphylococcus pyogenes. These are normal pathogens found in intestinal flora, but they become toxins, or they show their toxic effects or septic effect during or after this procedure. These cases when alive, or these pregnant women when they are, so death in these cases takes place from 48 hours to a week time. But that takes place in hospital because these cases when alive are first admitted to hospital, and some develop complications like pelvic cellulitis or thrombophlebitis, which eventually cause pulmonary embolism and death. So it is a process of few days to a week. Next is autopsy findings in a case of death from criminal abortion. Here, autopsy finding evaluation is challenging task. So it requires that medical examiner or doctor who is doing autopsy should be well familiar with types of drugs and instruments used and modes of death by which victim dies, because subsequent autopsy findings have to be related with circumstantial evidence. Autopsy examination in such cases must be done as soon as possible, as these bodies decompose early. Now findings are also present on clothes, body of victim and fetus. So examination of clothes. Disarrangement of clothes should be noted. They are soiled with fluids including blood. When body is moved from scene of interference, large quantity of fluid may run out of vagina, soaking all clothes lying beneath buttock. There may be smell of soap or antiseptic like Dettol in the room. Signs about stage of pregnancy should be determined if fetus is still in the uterus. Examiner has to examine vulva, vagina, cervix and uterus for any evidence of instrumentation, perforation and drug action. So we have discussed here examination of clothes and examination of body, the external genital area. Next, we will see what injuries are there in during autopsy examination. The injuries may range from scratch to frank wounds of labia, minora or majora, vagina, cervix, and uterus. Bleeding from cervical canal is very common. There may be fluid in vagina and uterus which must be preserved for lab examination. Now, if fetus is present, an estimation of its age should be made and any trauma on fetus should be noted. If only fetal remnants or remains are found, they should be examined grossly and microscopically. If death due to air embolism occurs, there will be deep cyanosis, congestion, froth mixed with mucus and blood from mouth and nose. Then there will be air bubbles in the veins over uterus. These air bubbles will also be present in inferior vena cava, right heart, pulmonary artery, and cerebral and coronary arteries. Now, if death takes place from septicemia, that is delayed death, then skin of the dead woman will show yellowish bronze color due to deep jaundice. That was about autopsy findings. Now we come to medico-legal aspects of criminal abortion. You will find a conflict between ethical and legal obligations. Ethical obligations while attending a case of criminal abortion are important. Disclosure of information obtained during treatment is not justified. It is unethical without permission of patient. But there is public or legal duty as a citizen that police should be informed. Since it is a crime, so in criminal cases police is notified. The examining doctor or medical examiner or medical practitioner may go into conflict. What to do? Now, medical associations in Pakistan or in the world, they suggest that such information should not be disclosed without consent of patient or victim. Now, in a suspected case of criminal abortion, patient or victim should be encouraged to record dying declaration if death is imminent. So you know what is dying declaration. When death is imminent due to any unnatural offense, then dying declaration is mandatory. Now, there is a stage when if doctor is treating the patient or victim and she dies, then he has to immediately inform police. Then there is no way that he can hide this, and then he has to issue a certificate of cause of death, but he should withhold the cause. He can only issue death certificate without cause, and this cause will be determined on conduction of autopsy. So with that, criminal abortion topic is over. Now I will take up a second topic today, that is introduction to sexual offences, in which there are several forensic examinations, and the first examination is female victim of rape. So I will also take up that. Now, what is a sexual offense or sexual offenses? These are illegal sexual acts or intercourse with a person or an animal to obtain sexual gratification. That is pleasure, sexual pleasure. Examples or types are rape, incest, sodomy, and bestiality. So we discuss them one by one. Number one is rape. This is very important, and an SCQ may be asked on definition of rape. It is defined as unlawful sexual intercourse by a man with any woman against her will, without her consent, or with her consent when it has been obtained by unlawful means. And what are those unlawful means? Number one, putting her in fear of death or hurt. Number two, impersonation. That means he is not husband of the lady, but due to in special circumstances or due to some reason he acts like her husband. Maybe there is dark and someone very close to her husband can take advantage of this situation and rape her. That will be impersonation. Due to unconsciousness, unsoundness of mind, or intoxication, or administration of any stupefying agent by which she is unable to understand the nature and consequences of that to which she consents. So the person may use some drug or poison just to make her unconscious or semi-unconscious, and so that her mind doesn't work. And so that consent is not valid. That is also a rape. Now, penetration is sufficient to constitute sexual intercourse necessary to offense of rape. Sections of law which deal with this offense of rape are Section 375 and Section 376. Next offense after rape is sodomy, that is voluntarily having sexual intercourse against the order of nature. That means unnatural via anal canal with any man, woman, and animal. Sexual offense number 3 is incest, that is sexual intercourse between persons so closely related that marriage between them is legally prohibited. So that is members of the same family can't marry with each other. Number 4 is bestiality. This is sexual act with animals. This is called bestiality. Now, taking up the medico-legal examination or forensic examination or medical examination in sexual offences. These are all mean the same. But before that, what is a forensic medical examination in general? So this I am giving a brief introduction. Then we will come to specific examination. Now, forensic medical examination is type of examination performed for purpose of law. It's highly technical and helps law courts resolve conflicts, compensate sufferers, and punish aggressors, mainly in cases of victims of physical assault, sexual assault, intoxication, that is poisoning, and accidental trauma. So you will see in 4 situations this forensic medical examination is carried out, and sexual assault or rape is one of them. The medical certificate or report issued after examination is presented to the court of law. Now, coming to sexual assault or rape cases, 3 medico-legal examinations are carried out. Not of the same person, but they are 3 different types of examinations. Number 1, forensic examination of a female victim of rape. Number 2, forensic examination of a victim of sodomy, whether male or female. Number 3, forensic examination of sexual offender or the rapist. This examination also includes collection of specimens which are dispatched to forensic science laboratory for interpretation. Now next is examination of a female victim of rape. Now in the slide you can see few headings. This is very important slide, and this is also an SCQ usually coming every other year, that what are steps of examination of a female victim of rape. So in this slide I am discussing few headings which I just mentioned briefly, then I will give description. First I will give some introduction about this examination situation. Number 2, I will talk about something about investigations of by police about rape allegation. Number 3, place where this examination takes place. After that there is a heading, you will see protocol of examination. That means protocol or steps of examination in a female victim of rape. What is the protocol? What is the order? What are the steps taken? So this question is asked, discuss the steps or enlist the steps of examination in a female victim of rape. Now here you will see 5 headings, main headings. A is pre-examination, what formalities are to take place before examination. B is medical examination of that person or victim, female victim. C is examination of clothes of the victim, and D is examination of the body of the victim, and this includes general examination, systemic examination, and genital examination. And genital examination is vaginal examination in case of female victim, and in case of victim of sodomy it will be anal canal, and in case of offender or the rapist it will be penis. Next step is collection of specimens from clothes, body, and genitalia. These specimens are then sent to lab and a report is received back, and the medical examiner, on the basis of this history and examination and report from forensic science lab, also writes a report or certificate. after after the examination, after a few days or few weeks, he completes the report and send it to court. So that is a brief summary of these steps, but let me describe them in detail. So coming to introduction of this examination, that is female victim of rape, law clearly differentiates between legal and illegal sexual intercourse, with further distinction of per vaginum or per rectum. In case of rape or zina bil jabr, only the sexual offender, aggressor or rapist is held responsible, and female victim is not held responsible, she is victim. A female victim may also be violated at both vaginal and anal orifice and even in mouth. So this examination should not be limited to genital region alone, and it will depend on allegation. Now what investigations are done? Investigations should be done by those police officers who are trained and experienced. It is the joint responsibility of law enforcement and medical agencies. They should have close relationship between them, starting from collection of evidence from the scene of crime till final interpretation of findings of medical examination. Such acts are usually done without witnesses, and only parties present are assailant and victim. Statement of both should be listened carefully and evaluated objectively. False allegation by victim may also be made. Forensic examination of both victim and assailant should be done immediately after obtaining written consent from them. Now, place of examination is, it is undertaken in proper surroundings, that is medico-legal clinic by qualified medical practitioner, and should be thorough and complete along with collection of specimens, because outcome of criminal case will depend on it. In case of a female victim, a female attendant should also be present. Now coming to protocol of examination or steps of examination, this for male and female is similar. It is given, these headings are given in table 9.10 of chapter 9, which I have recommended you for study, and there is also description of this table before and after that table. So you should read from those pages from the book, and also you should study the table. So as steps are similar for both, but findings of genital regions may differ. Female victim is usually brought first. So same doctor should examine both victim and suspect. So what are steps? Step number 1 is pre-examination. Before examination, what has to be done before examination? Consent of the victim is necessary, and also her personal identity has to be determined from her NIC or biodata, and identification mark should be noted. So confirmation of identity, personal identity, consent and biodata information, they are mandatory before examination, that is called pre-examination. Number 2 is medical examination. It includes general impression, which means that what dress she is wearing, what is her makeup, what is her mental and emotional state. If she is too tense or if she is disturbed, then doctor has to be very careful and very politely he has to ask those questions which may offend her. Now, medical examination includes general impression and history. And history includes specific history and obstetric history. So, what is specific history? Specific history is very important. It is about the event, about the act of rape, and should be listened carefully. It should include relevant questions such as what was the time and place of act, who removed the clothes, was act performed by one or more persons, was any violence used by assailant, and such other questions. Obstetric history includes information about medication, especially in last 24 hours. Previous sexual experience of victim, menstrual status of victim, previous pregnancies and childbirths with dates. After that, number third step is examination of clothes. For this, the examiner or doctor has to make the examinee stand on plain white cloth free from any contamination. Undressing is done by victim herself while standing on sheet of cloth. Any item or material dropped during undressing should be collected for further examination in lab to confirm source of origin. Now, removed clothes are spread in daylight and inspected for any derangement, damage and staining, and should be noted. Wet stain is air dried and encircled with permanent marker and dispatched to lab. Step number 4 is examination of body of the female victim, which consists of general examination, systemic examination and genital examination. So, coming to examination of body, what is general examination? It includes taking notes about height, weight, build and vital signs of the victim. Skin of the whole body is inspected while examinee is standing on white sheet to locate injuries, stains, loose hair or any other form of trace evidence. Now, in general examination we will note injuries, stains and loose hair. So, what injuries we will note? They may be bruises, abrasions or bite marks and should be palpated for tenderness. Coming to bruises, in female victim, the bruises may be on her hands, forearms and arms due to gripping force applied by the offender. Then they may be on medial side of knee or thighs due to an attempt of aggressor to separate those areas. Then they may be on hips, cheeks and breast caused during scuffle or struggle. Second injury may be abrasion or abrasions. These are due to friction against hard surfaces and are usually on the back of the body in female victims. Nail scratches are usually seen on the body of assailant, on the face and around genitals, and are inflicted by victim to assailant. They are sign of resistance or struggle. Third injury is bite mark or important abrasions inflicted by victim on body of assailant and are usually seen on neck or front of chest. Coming to stains, they may be biological or non-biological. So biological stains are semen, blood and saliva, and non-biological are soil, vegetation and oil. Seminal and blood stains are located mostly on thigh and genital area. Then we can see loose hair from either partner may get transferred and entangled in others' pubic hair. So loose hair of one party, victim or assailant, can transfer to the pubic hair of other person and they may be entangled there. They are collected by combing. Loose hair may be found anywhere on others' body. Systemic examination of all organs and system of the body is done and is necessary to rule out the possibility of subsequent false plea by assailant on the grounds of physical inability or any disease. So he can say that he is sick and he is not able to commit the act of rape. So that was all for today. I will take up remaining examination of female victim and other examinations in the next lecture. Thank you very much.